There is nothing better than having a quality villain, one that you can really indulge within, really enjoy. Maybe they're just the most hated individual, maybe the most misunderstood, maybe they're just very complex and all over the place, but they provide so much insight to the story, to the main character, to certain motivations or beliefs. Like there's so many things that you can do with a villain to really elevate your story tenfold. And this is entirely contextual to your story. Do you have powers? Is it realistic? Is it a horror story? Depending on what that context is, your villain is going to adapt. Some of the best villains that we can think of, Johan from Monster, Griffith from Berserk, are the standard iconic ones, and for good reason. But what if I told you that there is two things I should say, that are handled very differently? They don't have the war crimes on their bucket list, they don't have the atrocities or the murders or the sickening ideology even. Instead, they're a lot more sinister because of how unstable they are, how authentic they come across, how suffocating they can truly be. Sit back, relax, and let me tell you about my two favorite villains. A Trail of Blood, or Blood on the Tracks, is a manga done by Oshimi Shuzo. If you've ever read any of this person's work, you know exactly what to expect. See, there's something different about A Trail of Blood though. This is arguably one of his best works in my opinion, and definitely one of my favorites from him, and it's because of how sensitive it is. It is incredibly meticulous, slow, methodical, and the relationship building in here is so prevalent, so beautiful, but also self-destructive. To give you a clear answer on where this story goes and where this villain comes from and how they're implemented throughout each interaction is so incredibly difficult to explain in full detail. It's something that you kind of have to experience because the guideline of what is right and wrong and the murkiness right on top of it makes it impossible to really see people's true intentions. This is the main character. His name's Sabe. He's a young boy going to school, living his life and learning about a lot of new things. He's fresh. He's a greenie. This is his mother, Seiko, and she looks lovely. She's adorable. She's a very beautiful parent, at least at the beginning. You see, Seiko has a bit of a problem. She's a little bit unwell, and you don't really know the length of how unwell she is. Mentally and emotionally at the beginning, she seems quite alright, but as her son starts to adapt to the new world and learn new things and meet new people and experience potentially a girlfriend for the first time, she becomes a little bit jealous. She starts to change. She starts to observe things more. She starts to become a lot more doting and obsessive, and it really starts to spiral into this sense of manipulation and controlling that our main character doesn't really know how to handle. He just thinks it's motherly love. He just thinks that there's nothing wrong with this. Even though he's scared, even though he's worried, he's being constantly manipulated. The craziest thing about this is that Seiko plays it off with a beautiful smile. She's not sinister in her approach, but she genuinely believes that she has the right to do this. See, when I say that she's very unwell, it's not just because she's manipulating her own child, having this extremely toxic, instinctual motherly bond that cannot be shaken by anyone, that she's willing to push aside her own husband, but also kill her nephew by pushing him off a cliff. This is a vital moment. Her son witnesses this event, and she claims it to be protection. She was scared. She was worried that her son was playing around the cliff, and she wanted to do everything to save him, to help him. But in reality, there's something a little bit more sinister underneath there, and that was jealousy. Because Seichi is a very young boy, trying to understand this is basically impossible. Watching his cousin get pushed off a cliff sends him down this spiral of reflection that he just cannot comprehend. He watched a traumatizing experience, and thus now he is traumatized. So who better than to wiggle in and try and aid that trauma, try to help it, try to support it, try to heal it? His mother. This would be direct access to his mind, to his emotion, to him physically as well. And little by little, she would slowly contort how he views the world, how he views people, how he views women. She would wriggle herself under his skin and be the only thing that he should ever think about. To say this is just toxic, to say this is just a disgusting mother, is putting it in its lightest form. She observes, she is all-encompassing, she is suffocating, she is almost like a god in front of his eyes, and he has no control over what he says, what he does, or what he thinks. And even if for whatever reason he does try to pull away, tries to push back, tries to disconnect, she finds him, she controls him, and she brings him back. You would not find out till much later on that the severity of Seiko's mental state is incredibly more dangerous than you could actually imagine. It's not just simple obsession. Her mind is quite literally corrupted and distorted and very unhealthy. Someone that would drastically need a lot of clinical help to try and even function at least somewhat partially properly in society. This was always here. This was there when she raised her child. This is where when she started to manipulate him, and it's there in her oldest of age. There's one thing that's very consistent about Seiko that really sells this manipulation, that really sells the type of insanity that she's bringing forth onto her own son and the main character. She's drawn really pretty and really scary. She looks so normal, so simple, so effortless, even angelic in a lot of ways, but very quickly it contorts and becomes disgusting and horrifying and brutal. There's so many horrible panels of her contorting her face, or the artistry within it, just using scribbly lines, and the effectiveness of this is ridiculous. If you ever wanted to read a story that conveys so much emotion, so much minuscule, tiny, atmospheric emotion, this will have you on the edge of your seat. This will have you holding your breath, because you never know what she's going to do next. You never know what she's thinking about. You don't know why she's smiling or what she's scheming. Thus, we are in the exact same position as the main character himself, trying to navigate the murkiness of his mother's manipulation and torment. It's kind, it's caring, and it's malicious. You would never guess where this story ends or where this story goes, what Seiko becomes, and what the main character actually goes through. That's not for this video though, that's for you to experience. So if you're interested, fair warning though, give it a chance. There's a lot of people that were within this slot. A lot of people I was going through and thinking, oh, this would make for an interesting conversation and kind of breakdown and discussion. Well, I decided on something a little bit different. Not a person, but an environment, a place, a situation. See, we all know villains as just being a counterpart to our main character, but what if our main character doesn't really have a counterpart? What if he doesn't have a physical villain, a person, a human, an alien, or a creature? What if the villain was the environment, the location that it's set within? Maybe it's an event that takes place that invokes this type of villainry. And you're probably thinking, how does that even make sense? It's just stupid. Like, what do you mean? This is a manhwa called The Horizon, and it is one of my favorite stories. And the reason I put this in here is because I believe that its environment invokes a sense of terror and fear unlike any other. You see, this kid right here is affected by war. He loses his family, and he firsthand sees the death and destruction that it causes. He has to leave though, to follow a road out into this endless abyss of a countryside, not really sure on what's to come. Is he going to die? Is he going to survive? What's actually going to happen? You see, this country is within war. It's within conflict, and there's no safe place. All of the inhabitants have been thrown out of their homes and thrusted into this nightmare that is never ending. So they have to survive. But see, the problem when it comes to war fields like this is that it brings out the most disgusting human parts. The parts that want to survive, the parts that want to cause anger, the parts that have this sense of freedom because they can't get judged or punished or thrown into the slammer. So you'll come across people that are doing exactly that. Some that are trying to survive, some that are trying to scheme and manipulate their way to survival, others committing horrible crimes, being disgusting and revolting. And it's all because of the conflict that has destroyed all of these towns and cities. It's really emphasized heavily just how bad this situation is, how horrible walking through these environments are, because this is just a child, and you are watching that innocence of a child slowly disappear bit by bit as they walk further into the dark unknown, into the abyss, not sure what awaits them. That innocence disappears, and to me, that is a villain, one of the craziest, because it has one of the most everlasting effects that you could imagine. This child going through this situation, walking through this warfield, will never be the same. They have to experience hardship. They've already witnessed so much horror. They've lost their family. They don't know where to go. And this unknown sticks around like glue. Can they find food? Are they going to survive another day? Will any and every person they encounter actually help them or destroy them? Like, you just don't know. How far do they have to walk to be considered safe? When will this war end? Where's the aid? Where's the foreign intervention? No one's coming to help. Even if you survive this, the repercussions are everlasting. You will not be the same. You'll be traumatized, riddled to the bone with so much anxiety and dread, and basically experiencing that war yourself. You will live that day over and over and over again until your last breath, in hopes that maybe potentially you could find solace somewhere, someplace, in someone potentially, but never knowing if you're ever gonna get it. War in itself is a villain, but it's the effects of war that truly linger. There's always going to be death and destruction and annihilation with the process of war. But what about everything after? The effects that it has on people, their homes being destroyed. Everyone's living in constant fear. No one knows if help is on the horizon. These children right here are trying to escape it. Every step they take, everything that they face, their innocence disappears, consumes them, and ultimately changes them for the rest of their lives. Welcome to the end of the video. If you've made it this far, thank you. I appreciate you. Leave a like and subscribe. That'd be nice. Also, check out some of these videos here. The more you watch, the more YouTube recommends me. I love that. YouTube loves that. And you'll probably enjoy the video. I'd love to hear your favorite villains though. Let me see what you got. And with that, I will see you all later.